So philanthropy, we know as being people who give money, sometimes quite a lot of money, to attend to matters that concern, affect, but also basically to improve the welfare of people. Now, at the moment, the discussion around philanthropy is quite varied. So this is a great opportunity to weave into that discussion the clarity about what role women should be playing in philanthropy. So in my understanding, philanthropy has been largely happening in our societies, particularly in South Africa. It happens through the church, it happens through social groups, society, the societies that collect money provide more than money to each other. They actually provide some social support. So they're able to deal with matters of social support and probably even wellness when they engage. But they don't quantify that as philanthropy. So that I think is an important insight that needs to be brought into the redefinition of philanthropy, particularly philanthropy in Africa. When corporates undertake philanthropy, initially, quite a lot of them do it from a very altruistic perspective. And so people will give to causes that are close to perhaps the passion point or interest of the owner. And that isn't necessarily something that affects women. But in other cases, you do get philanthropists who just focus almost entirely on women. I think the one who's probably best known is Melinda Gates, who's got large programs that focus very much on women. What is interesting about corporate philanthropy, however, which I think is the opportunity again for including women's participation more meaningfully, is the fact that it's shifting into being much more strategic, aligned to business objectives, but also ensuring delivery on ESG matters, environmental, social, and governance matters in the world in order to meet the expectations of the Sustainable Development Goals. So what happens in Africa, or what should be happening in Africa and South Africa, is we receive a lot of funds from major international organizations and corporates. However, these are directed in terms of their own terms. And who makes the decisions around what the strategies should be or where the money should go? Those decision-making rooms do not often enjoy the participation of not just women, but women from diverse backgrounds. So the more we can be diverse in the decision around the allocation of funding, I think the more effective that funding will be when it lands on the ground. So what am I saying? Women are recipients of philanthropic support. However, they are not the determinants of how that philanthropic support should be going. And this is because one reason is I don't think there's an adequate understanding of the complexity of women's existence where they are, particularly women in rural areas. And secondly, I think it is really it's a manifestation of the fact that you do not have diverse decision-making teams when allocation of funds or decisions on programs are being made. I believe that there are a lot of women involved in philanthropy. I've been involved in philanthropy now for almost 15 years. But when I was in government, which was a public giving, it was also in a way philanthropic because government also gives grants to achieve certain objectives. In my experience, I find that these limitations that I keep talking about, who's in the room when decisions are made about resources and how those resources should happen, is still a problem. So we do tend to find ourselves as African women quite lonely out there. And it would be great if more people could either volunteer their time, bring their knowledge to the table, and create NGOs, participate in decision-making around social giving, and actually influence the way in which philanthropic efforts, or whatever we're going to call this new philanthropy, actually complements enterprise and entrepreneurial development in a way that really removes and overcomes poverty for this and for future generations.